All right, welcome back to the KNL Sports Huddle. Cage Kiplinger, Logan Hubert. Last week, I was a little under the weather, and my voice was crackly and was not good for public consumption. So we're back this week. How we doing today, Logan?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. Caught me a little off guard when you said you couldn't go last week, but I didn't mind it. I was ready. I think I did. I'll give myself a C plus for my effort last week.
You were much better than that. It was a good episode for you, and good thing there's two of us, right? The show must go on, and we always have someone here. I owe you two now. You helped me out a couple times now, going solo. But if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, Spotify. Give us a follow, rate, and review. We are on Instagram as well, so get any of our reels and our breaking news on our stories. That's at HuddleKL Sports on Instagram. Logan, we got some Miss the Cut this week. Let's get it started off with that.
Absolutely. It is baseball related because it is the end of the year. So what does that mean? Award season. The Cy Youngs went to Tariq Skubal and Paul Skeens in the AL and NL respectively. Anonymous vote for Mr. Skeens. And did you say any big shocker there? Not
No,
really.
no. These are. It's pretty cool that Skeen's already with a Rookie of the Year and now a Cy Young award this early into his career. It's the only thing bad is that he's stuck in Pittsburgh. So
Well, I mean, everybody knows he will end up being a Yankee or a Dodger at some point.
he keeps denying it like he has to, but I think we'll see him in pinstripes.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. And then, of course, on the hitting side, we had Ohtani out of the NL and Aaron Judge in the AL winning back-to-back MVPs. Yours truly called the Judge. I don't remember if I picked Ohtani or not.
I think you went pretty chalk with Dodgers winning the World
Yeah,
Series, and you probably picked
um,
Ohtani. I'm almost positive.
yeah. I know. I never sure I picked Judge to win the AL MVP, but yeah, I mean, Cal Raleigh was the better story, obviously in the AL. But if you just go by statistics, Aaron Judge clearly deserved it. Um,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
mean, there's really not much more to say
yeah.
other than that.
Well, I'm just glad that in baseball that we've kept voter fatigue kind of out of the the votes for this award. I think, given the fact
NBA
that
kind of suffers from that problem.
right,
And
exactly, and
NFL,
that's what I'm hoping that it always stays away in this sport because Ohtani now has won what four of the last 5 years he's won an MVP award. So, um, at this point with the World Series rings, all the MVP awards, all the success he's had on both sides, now he's just looking for a Cy Young and chasing Barry Bonds' MVP record. So it's going to be pretty cool to watch the rest of his career unfold. All right. Um, NFL Week 11 reactions. There were a few games that I really just wanted to point out. We'll start in that early window. So the Buffalo Bills win a shootout against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Josh Allen went off in fantasy points, and yours truly decided to start Justin Herbert over my Josh Allen
how'd his
on my
game go?
fantasy team. I think Herbert got me 3 points. I think my team as a whole was awful. Jamar Chase got me like 2 or 3 points. It was just not a good day for my fantasy team. But just looking at this game, it was all about Allen. I mean, he put on the cape again, became Superman for the Buffalo Bills. And what surprised me the most about Tampa Bay was that they couldn't stop such a one-dimensional offense. Because offensively, Tampa rushed for over 200 yards, their most in a game, and a long while, as we saw them lean into that run game pretty hard. But despite throwing two first-half interceptions, Allen rebounded strongly to close this game out. Became the first player in NFL history to have two different games with at least 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. So yeah, it's not a sustainable way to win games for Buffalo, as they kind of had an up and down year. But what did you make of this game?
Yeah, Allen's first interception was awful. That was like a Carson Wentz sort of interception where it was just like asking why the hell did you do that? But yeah, I mean, he made up for it clearly. It was a bad weather game going in, really windy. I mean, everyone knows that those two offenses are pretty good, but some of us thought it would have been a lower scoring game because of the wind and the coolness. But no, it was not. It was a offensive shootout, and yeah, I think we both called Buffalo covering that because they were coming off that absolutely ugly performance against Miami, and yeah, it wasn't their defense really didn't do too much in the game, but their offense bounced back in a big
Uh,
way.
Bears at the Vikings. The but Chicago Bears doing it again, coming away with a late game drive to win this one 19-17. Um, this was a pure example of winning ugly and with grit. The Bears leaned heavily on their defense. Byard with a takeaway from JJ McCarthy in this one. Special teams came up massive with Duvernay's return, and obviously Santos hitting that 48-yarder to seal things. But Caleb Williams is the story here. He continues to show poise in these late game moments. Chicago's ability to close out games from behind has become a real identity for them this season, and it's pretty cool to see from a fan base that has been starving for something to cheer for, as they are now sitting in first place in the NFC North, which who would have called that, right? Um, but yeah, Chicago has 5 wins this season after trailing in the final 2 minutes, tied for the most since the 1970 merger. Um, what did you make of this one? I believe we both called this one as well. I think I called
Yeah,
it exactly.
yeah. They currently have a -6 point differential, and they're 7-3. Um, yeah, the Bears and the Patriots are by far the luckiest teams so far, schedule wise. The Bears will obviously get harder um, coming up because they still have to play Green Bay twice and Detroit again, and I think they still have the Eagles as well. But yeah, they haven't beaten a team with a winning record. But like you said, they keep finding these ways to win, which is, I mean, you gotta it speaks for itself. I mean, keep in mind, think of the Vikings 3 years ago. That team that went like with Kirk Cousins went like 14-3. Uh, I mean, all those absurd wins, last minute wins, and then they got bounced in the playoffs. But yeah, I still think it's too early to consider this team like a real contender. I think we'll need to see more from Williams and Johnson in the future. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting to be a Bears fan because for once they're actually winning these close games. But going back to the Patriots reference, though, I mean, the Bears and Patriots have had the best schedule luck so far, and once again, it's happening this week with the Bears taking on the Steelers, who might be without Aaron Rodgers, and the Patriots are playing the Bengals, who will be without Jamar Chase. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore about who these teams have faced so far.
Very favorable. Well, let's look at a couple games that were in that evening slate, the late window on Sunday that absolutely delivered. We knew it looked good on paper coming in, but the Seahawks and the Rams, as well as the Chiefs and Broncos games, were two games that absolutely delivered for the Seahawks and Rams. This one ended with a Rams 21-19 win over Seattle. This felt like a classic defensive win. The Rams didn't need to be dominant on offense because their defense made game-defining plays. They can Cam Kitchen's impact on this one with the 2 interceptions, both ended up leading to scoring drives. Um, Kyron Williams ripping off some big runs for LA. On Seattle side, you know, they had an opportunity there at the end of the game to win it with a field goal, but the turnover bug really hit them hard. It was the worst game that we've seen from Sam Darnold. It was his pumpkin game, but you know, it still looked to me like an impressive game for Seattle to have had that many turnovers and to still be in it at the very end. Just shows how good their defense is, just shows how well coached they are, and honestly was one of the most impressive losses despite what they did on offense.
Yeah, Stafford did not have a game that it's been up to par with his standards this year. So
15
yeah,
for 28 for 130 yards.
yeah, credit Seattle's defense for that. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to them facing on. I think they have a Thursday night game in a few weeks back in the Northwest. Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch. And then, of course, Broncos Chiefs was the other big one from the evening slate. Um, Chiefs drop another one. They're now 5-5. Denver now has a commanding lead in that division. Still don't trust that offense very much, but their defense is absolutely for real. And many people, I picked the Broncos to cover. I think you did too, just because it was 3.5. Felt like a safe play. But not many people, and I was kind of even on that boat, expected the Chiefs to lose this one just because history has shown that whenever they're like, oh no, is the dynasty starting to fall off because they've lost a couple, they find a way to get a massive win. We even saw that this year when they destroyed Detroit at home. But no, yeah, the Broncos got it done, and we might see a new face at the top of the AFC West for the first time in about a decade.
Right. And Bo Nix delivering again under pressure. Lutz, obviously, with the clutch kick at the end. Um, Worried about flashbacks from last year after the block field goal to seal it for Kansas City in this very game. Um, the Chiefs had their chances. Kelsey's milestone score was huge. That was a cool moment, but they just couldn't close it. Super impressed, still with Denver being able to take down who's the team that's been the king of the AFC. Yeah, Knicks went 24 for 37 for 295 yards, and set up the final kick on that last drive. Pretty cool performance there from the Chiefs and Broncos. The last one I wanted to talk about was the Sunday night game, which was billed as a very huge matchup between the Lions and Eagles, top teams that we think of in the NFC. This one ended up being a barn burner. 16-9 was the final score of this one. And, the Lions outgained the Eagles 317 yards to 272, but couldn't convert when it mattered. They went 0 for 5 on fourth downs. Come on, Dan Campbell. You can kick a field goal every once in a while. If you kick a couple more field goals, you're right in this one, potentially winning this game. So the Eagles held Detroit to just 3 of 13 on third down. Goff had one of those games that we talk about outside, outdoors in the cold, going 14 of 37, just 37% completion. Had a touchdown, but also an INT on his stat sheet. But yeah, it was just the Eagles made the Lions play their game on their turf, and Goff just looked cold.
Yeah, this game at the end had one of the most, probably the most inconsequential bad call at the end, where yeah, Philly had a third down, and Colts legend Rock Yassin was playing cornerback, and good coverage. Everyone thought it was good coverage. Refs threw a flag and called it pass interference. Even Chris Collinsworth called it out. But why did I call it inconsequential? Because everyone who watched the game knew that even if the Lions got the ball back, Jared Goff was likely to throw 4 incompletions and the game would be over. I mean, yeah, I mean, it did not matter because the Lions' offense had been horrible that second half, and very, very unlikely they would have driven the whole field to tie the game after a punt. So, yeah, it was a terrible call. Flag should never been thrown, but did it matter?
Fun weekend of football. College had some really good games. We'll get to that later, but we're looking ahead now to week 12, and I'm coming off quite the week for myself. I went 11-4 on my picks last week. What did you end up going?
I went 9-6. Yeah, you can never stray too far away from 500.
Right.
I'm 84-80 right now, so yeah.
I had a few come up clutch. The Titans covering against Houston, Jacksonville just obliterating the Chargers in that game, and some of these underdogs like
Seattle was
Seattle.
the yeah.
Right, Seattle was
Yeah.
like right there.
Yeah.
right in that 2.5 spread. So that was pretty clutch from them to be able to pull that one out. Um, so yeah, looking ahead to Week 12, let's get things started here. Bills at the Texans. So with this game, what I'm feeling first off is, will we get Superman Josh Allen, or are we going to get a letdown spot here and have Josh Allen light? The Texans defense will have to show out again. Obviously, CJ Stroud will not be um, under center for them again. Davis Mills has been painful to watch for most of the game, and then suddenly in the fourth quarter, he becomes a god tier quarterback. Um, the Bills have dropped 5 straight games outright in Houston, last winning there in 2006. Josh Allen has started 3 of those matchups, and Buffalo has scored 20 points or fewer in each of them. This line is at 5.5 in favor of Buffalo, and I think going on the road, I still like Houston to just make these games ugly and keep the game close. And 5.5 seems like a pretty big spread for this game.
Yeah, last year, Josh Allen in this game, I feel like I still didn't get talked about enough. At Houston, he went 9 for 30 uh, throwing the ball, which is horrible. Um, so yeah, that stat is alarming. They haven't won since 2006 in Houston. But I think we might have some disagreements this week. I am taking the Bills at -5.5. I just think the Texans' offense with Davis Mills right now is way too limited to take advantage of the leaky Bills defense. And I think the Miami game 2 weeks ago was a major wake up call for Buffalo. And I don't think we'll see that again this soon uh, from that game. So I like the Bills by a touchdown here. Thursday night games are so unpredictable, I feel like, when it comes to spreads.
Yeah.
We just really don't know. It's one of the harder games of the week to judge usually, but I'll take the Bills, yeah, -5.5. And then we are done with Europe games, I
Thank
believe.
God.
So,
Thank God.
yeah. Spain was treated to a close game, but it was 2 bad teams, and it was kind of an ugly game. So,
That was
but
that was a game that I just followed the score on my phone.
yeah,
That was not a
I didn't
game that I'm
watch any of
watching.
it. Yeah. Okay, I alluded to this game earlier. Steelers are at the Bears. Aaron Rodgers up in the air. He should still play, but I would say he would likely be hampered if he did play. If it's going to take this long to decide his game status. The Bears are 2.5 point favorites. That's less than a field goal. Oh, I will gladly take that. They're at home. Like you said, they keep finding these weird ways to win. And as long as that's under a field goal at home, yeah, give me the Bears against a Steelers team who will likely have a corpse at quarterback due to his injury,
Yeah,
or
Logan,
Mason Rudolph. Same thing.
yeah. I think you're right. We are going to have a lot of games where we're going to disagree this week.
Good.
This one's interesting to me because given that we assume Mason Rudolph's going to be the QB for this game, here's some results for Tomlin having to play a backup QB. He's actually 19, 14, and 1 straight up and against the spread with a backup QB since 2015. In that span, when Tomlin is an underdog with a backup QB, Pittsburgh is 8-8 straight up and 11-4 and 1 against the spread. I didn't get the best of the number here, but I have to go Pittsburgh here. Bears are on a roll, and so I think people have come around on this team actually, um, you know, being good. But this will be the time for me to get off of Chicago. This was at 3. It has dropped to 2.5, so I know the professional money is coming in on Pittsburgh for this game. Bears fans have a lot to love right now, but I think in this situation, no matter who the quarterback is, I think Tomlin's going to be able to do this in this spot. I could see them even winning this game and just it being a huge letdown spot for Chicago. So yeah, I'm going with Pittsburgh at +2.5. Patriots at the Bengals. So I feel very similarly about the Patriots as I do the Bears. We just talked about them both being on these incredible hot streaks this season. Look, New England's clearly better than Cincinnati, but 7 points better for me. This was at 7.5, so I really liked it then. Unfortunately, but we're getting it at 7 right now. This is a number play, and as long as someone named Joe is quarterbacking the Bengals, I think they can stick with this Pats team if this becomes a shootout. Even despite not having Jamar Chase, I know that might be, um, you know, huge hindrance on this offense, but they still have other weapons that they can use. Like I said, Patriots have won 8 straight games. The second team currently on an 8-game win streak, with the Broncos, who play next week and are on a bye. Teams on an 8+ game straight up win streak are 39, 61, and 2 against the spread since 2010, including 11, 20, and 1 against the spread since 2020. It's hard to string together a bunch of wins in a row in the NFL. And the Bengals defense actually played okay last week. It was a lot of what just the offense did poorly that set up so many scores for the Steelers. In total, Cincinnati is actually 3-2 straight up in games without Jamar Chase. So, not terrible odds there for them to be able to win this game and be able to upset the Patriots in this one. So I'll take Cincinnati at +7.
I got this at 7.5. I'm still going with New England. Patriots are on longer rest. We'll say that. They are coming off a Thursday night win against the juggernaut Jets. Um, yeah, I think Cincy's defense was okay, but my rule is if a bad unit or a bad team plays okay or good for a week, they're going to be due for a letdown the next week, and that's what I see happening here. I could see your guy Travion Henderson running all over them this week, and I like the Patriots by 2 scores. In this one, to officially bury the Bengals and then put questions of Joe Burrow returning into serious
Full
doubt.
full full practice this week, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Even at 3-7 right now, I wouldn't even bring him back. I think this season should just be
Oh,
shut down.
yeah, yep. So I'll take the Patriots at -7.5. My guesses will probably agree on this one. Lions and Giants, or Giants at Lions. Detroit at home, coming off of a loss against a bad team. This is Dan Campbell's spot, so you already know what I'm going with here. Lions at -10.5. I thought that. Do we know, is Dart playing? Do we know that yet? Who scored
I'm
the jump?
not sure. I would bank on probably Winston again.
Okay. But it's under 2 touchdowns. I really like this. Lions bounce back as the you might have the numbers for this. I don't, but I don't know how they always do in home games before Thanksgiving, considering they have to play in just a few days after.
Right.
But that might be the bugaboo here, but I still like the Dan Campbell off of a loss at home against a bad team. Give me the Lions -10.5.
Yeah, I mentioned they went 0 for 5 on 4th down last week. The Lions did a Dan Campbell masterclass, by the way. Just the third team to go 0 for 5 or worse on 4th down in the Super Bowl era. That was the 2022 Detroit and 95 New England. Since the start of last season, Lions are 9-1 straight up and 8-2 against the spread the week after not converting any 4th downs, covering those 10 games by 10.6 points per game. Yeah, if this spread was 20.5, I'd still take the Lions in this situation. It's a clear Dan Campbell, Jared Goff get right game after a grueling, hard fought loss in the Philly cold. So yeah, easy for me. It could come back to bite me. Giants seem to pull off some of these covers every once in a while. They did last week. But yeah, I'll go Detroit 10.5. Vikings at the Packers. This team, Jordan Love, they seem to play with their food uh, through a lot of these games this season. And LaFleur has struggled against KOC. He struggled against O'Connell. Green Bay is 0-6 against the spread this season as a 4-point favorite or more. The first team 0-6 against the spread or worse in this spot through 11 weeks since the 1997 Packers, who went 0-8-1 against the spread. Yeah, I think it's a big number for a team who just hasn't really gone out there and dominated teams. And I think the Vikings coming off letting that game slip against Chicago, I think this would be a game for them to keep close, really let the Flores defense shine.
Yeah, I had nothing against the Packers going into this year, but I absolutely despise this team this year because of how much. Yeah, they just play all these unnecessarily close games. I'm so glad that the Panthers got them a couple weeks ago. That was so deserved. Um, yeah, it's a shame that. Yeah, I mean, Giants should have won last week too. And yeah, I don't like it, but I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna take Vikings plus 6.5, and this strictly does deal with the Packers just playing with their food. I mean, it's painful to watch. Their offense still has not really found its groove since the first 2 weeks. They had one good game, and that was against the Steelers on Sunday night. Other
Mhm.
than that, yeah, they've been very mediocre. The Vikings defense played pretty well last week. Um, I mean, who knows if they would have had an actual drive to stop? Um, they probably could have held the victory. Who knows against the Bears? Unfortunately for them, that kickoff they returned that kickoff into field goal range. So I mean, what else could the defense do? So yeah, I like the Vikings plus 6.5. I mean, you and me both do not trust JJ McCarthy or nine or whoever the hell is quarterbacking the Vikings.
If
But
they could
this is
just get
more
off
about
to like a decent start, because McCarthy is good on script, so
yeah.
the first quarter is like a good time to,
This is yeah, but
take
this is
take them on the spread in the first quarter.
for me. This is all just the Packers being the Packers this year. So Vikings at plus 6.5 is where I'm going. Okay, this is one I do not like. It's Seahawks and Titans. Seahawks are 13.5 point road favorites. I feel like every time I've bet on the Titans this year, they've kind of failed me. But I'm going to take the Titans here just because this is too big, and they've covered their last two games, and they've looked like a actual. You could
They're on
say
a
they've,
cover streak.
and you could argue they've looked like an actual football team at times these past 2 weeks. They played the Chargers close and the Texans close. Required a game-winning drive by the Texans to knock the Titans off last week. So 13.5, it's just too much for me. I know the Seahawks are good, really good on the road, covering spreads and stuff, but this is their second straight road game. It's a noon kickoff for them, for a West Coast team against a team that it's just a weird, like it's not like a big game. Like if this was a big game against like the Eagles or something at 1 o'clock, I could see like Seahawks playing like doing their usual cover and stuff. Here, it's just a weird like Titans. There's no relationship between these two teams. Too big of a spread. I'd like the Titans to cover that 13.5.
Yeah, despite this being, a bit of a travel for them, and the noon start, the Seahawks under McDonald are 9-3-1 against the spread on the road, 5-1-1 against the spread when playing on the East Coast. So I don't think the Central Time Zone will be too much of an issue for him. We saw Sam Darnold have his worst game of the season. I think he's going to bounce back from that. This team, I think, still they get up for Mike McDonald on these road games. This defense is probably the best in the league, and I think will give Cam Ward a lot of fits as a rookie QB. I'm actually liking this at 13.5. I think they win this by a couple scores. I'll take the Seahawks at minus 13.5. So we'll disagree again on this one.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Like I said before, I don't like it because it's the Titans, but
Third time's the charm in Tennessee. I just don't think they'll continue to cover when they were one of the worst teams at covering, and all of a sudden they're on a
that was
streak.
Callahan though. That was Brian
That
Callahan.
was Callahan. That was Callahan. All right, here's a good one. Colts at the Chiefs. Um, this one is sitting at 3.5 in favor of Kansas City. Mahomes and the Chiefs have struggled historically against the Colts. They don't struggle against many opponents, but as a duo, Mahomes and the Chiefs, they are 1-2 straight up and against the spread versus the Colts, including losing their last two straight up and against the spread, with games coming in 2022 versus Matt Ryan and 2019 versus Jacoby Brissett. And also, remember the team that always claimed they own the Chiefs and have been the only AFC team to beat the Mahomes Chiefs in the playoffs? They called it Burrowhead Stadium. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. Who is the defensive coordinator for those teams?
Ooh, Anarumo.
Yes, sir. And he is the defensive coordinator now for Indianapolis. Look, I think this is a good spot off a bye for the Colts. I think that well-coached teams just excel coming off bye weeks. And with this hook at 3.5, ooh, I'll take that. I'll take Indy to cover at 3.5.
This has everything to do with the Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs at -3.5 because, and I'm kind of basing this off. This is like the exact situation that the Colts were in a few weeks ago against the Steelers. Steelers are, say what you will about 9-8, 10-7. They are a franchise that does not. They're not a losing franchise. Like losing is not a part of their culture. Um, they were coming off two losses in a row, and what did they do? The Colts faced them after two losses in a row. What did they do? They played arguably their best game of the year against them. Chiefs are not a losing franchise. They have lost now two in a row. They're at home against the Colts, and I just see this going the exact same way. I look, as good as Daniel Jones and company have been these last 2 weeks before the bye, the O line has significantly regressed in pass protection. He has been sacked 12 times in these last two games. I could see Chris Jones and Karloftis and those guys potentially feasting on this Colts offensive line, who I don't know if a bye week helped. Like a bye week good for getting guys healthy and stuff. I don't think there was any health issues with the O line. I think it just oddly regressed for some reason. So yeah, Colts coming off a bye, that's big for them. They're likely going to get Travarius Ward back, so they're going to have him and Sauce Gardner in the secondary. So that will be fun to watch, that battle between the Chiefs offense and Anarumo's defense, and mostly healthy. They still won't have DeForest Buckner, though. But yeah, this is just, I don't think the Chiefs are going to lose three in a row. I know they have that half, and I don't like that half, but I'm going to go Chiefs -3. Okay. Was that? No, we got Ravens Jets. Ravens Jets. That's a 1 o'clock game, isn't it?
I believe so. It's not
Okay.
like
Yeah.
the weird late window game that
Like
Ravens
last
and
week.
Browns had.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I did a double take. Another 13.5 point spread this week. Ravens are hosting the Jets, and obviously they're 13.5 point favorites. This is similar to the Titans game. This is a do not bet for me, but it is under 14, and I'm going with your reasoning for picking the Seahawks. I'm going to do that with the Ravens. The fact that it's under 14, I like that. So give me the Ravens at -13.5. The Jets offense is just too inept right now. Justin Fields, I don't know what he's doing anymore. It's sad to watch. And yeah, I see the Ravens winning this by 2 scores. So
Yeah, it looks
give
like
me Ravens -13.
Tyrod Taylor's probably going to be the QB this week for the Jets. This is our last of our three double-digit favorites this week. Uh, those big faves are 12-1 straight up and 8-5 against the spread this year so far. The three teams with the double-digit spreads and double-digit favorites are 54-8 straight up and 35-26-1 against the spread over the last 3 seasons. This will be the first time we've seen double-digit favorites above 500 against the spread 3 years in a row in the Super Bowl era. I'm right with you on this one. I'm taking the Ravens at 13.5. The Jets are just bad. They're just a bad team. They're not fun to watch at all. Lamar, I think, is just going to be able to let loose in this game. It's not against a divisional opponent like it was last week. It was that hard fought, you know in the trenches type game against the Browns. Baltimore's 10-2 straight up against the spread in franchise history against New York. At home, Ravens are 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread versus the Jets, winning by 14.2 points per game. So pretty easy pick for me here. It could backfire, but I think it's the safest bet here to,
Yeah,
especially under the 14.
you said that thing 8-5 against the spread so far this year is double-digit favorites. So that tells me that two of those three should cover. So
There you
I
go.
guess I played this. I played the statistics right, picking the Lions and the Ravens, but then picking the Titans too.
Yeah, I just sent it across the
Yeah,
board with the three big
I
favorites.
respect that. I respect that.
Browns at the Raiders. Look, if you don't want anybody wants to watch this game, they're crazy. I would not want to watch this game. I would not want to bet this game.
You didn't
It's
see the news today?
what Shedeur Sanders. Give me a break. He will be the 42nd different starting QB the Browns have had since returning to the NFL in 1999, the most in NFL over that span. could be the 18th different QB to make his first career start in the regular season for the Browns since they returned to the NFL in '99. Those QBs are 0 and 17 straight up. The last QB to win was Eric Zaire in 1995. It's two bad teams with plenty of trends going against both sides in this one. Like I couldn't even find many trends that would support either side in this one. But the Raiders and the Browns have faced each other just 5 times dating back to 2015. Raiders are 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread in that span when facing Cleveland. The last Browns QB to beat the Raiders was Brian Hoyer against Derek Carr in 2014. So, under Kevin Stefanski, the Browns have played 6 total games in the Mountain Time Zone or Pacific Time Zone. Playing in Vegas this week, Cleveland is 0-6 straight up and 1-5 against the spread in those games, failing to cover the spread by 6.7 points per game. Raiders got embarrassed on Monday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're going to bounce back. It's a 3.5-point spread. I'm okay with the hook. I will take the Raiders at home. I'm not going to pick this, rookie QB, 4th string on the depth chart at the beginning of the year to do much damage to this team.
I do not like the Raiders' offense at all. I think
Fair.
I think Myles Garrett and company will do enough to cover that 3.5-point underdog spread. So that's the main reason. Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Shador because I'm starting him in fantasy this week because Bo Nix is on bye week and CJ Stroud is hurt.
Oh my god!
So
there was no one else you could have picked up.
Yeah, I could have picked Tyler Shuck or Bryce Young or guys like that. So might as well just go with a guy who you don't really know anything about. So, anyways, but yeah, he's probably gonna have a bad game, but so will this Raiders offense against this Browns defense. I know the Browns have not been very good on the road this year, and I'm not saying they're going to win, but with the hook, I'm going to take the Browns at plus 3.5. Okay, interesting game because you really don't know what you're going to get from either one of these teams. Jaguars at the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Jaguars at minus 2.5. If it gets to 3, I wouldn't bet it. Because, like I said, you don't really know what you're going to get from either one of these teams. Jaguars played, I think, their best game of the year last week against the Chargers, both sides of the ball, winning that one 35-6. So this is definitely a letdown spot. But they're facing a Cardinals team who has also had many letdown and bad performances this year. Credit Jacoby Brissett for breaking the all-time completions record, single-game completions record. A lot of that was in garbage time, but I mean, no one who cares.
Who cares?
But when the Jaguars have been good, they are better than the Cardinals when they've been good. So that was kind of my reasoning for taking the Jaguars at minus 2.5. I don't like either of these teams betting on either of these teams.
No,
so I'm just going to go with the better team has been better more often this year with the Jaguars on the road as 2.5-point favorite.
It's a tough one. This one, it's like a classic matchup between a team coming off a blowout win, going on the road to face a team coming off a blowout loss. Bear with me here on this stat. Since 1990, teams to blow a 14-point lead or more entering the fourth quarter and lose the game, and then win their next game outright, completing the bounce back, are 7-24 straight up and 9-20-2 against the spread in their next game. The last cover, the last cover came in 2016. It's been 7-1 against the spread since in that scenario. To me, this is very similar to my Pittsburgh at plus 2.5. I didn't get the best of the number. It was at 3. This one I hope can get to 3 for the Cardinals. I'll take Arizona here. Gannon, he's a defensive minded guy, and he hasn't been able to get this defense right. And I think it's now or never. Or he's on a hot seat right now. It's been back-to-back bad losses against their opponents for the Cardinals, allowing 40 plus points in both games, losing by 17 plus points. I mean, it's been crazy. So I think off the really high the Jaguars had and almost rock bottom the Cardinals have, I'm going to pick the rock bottom side to come out on top here to flip that script. So Cardinals at plus 2.5. Hope I can get it at 3 closer to game time. All right, we got the classic NFC East matchup: Eagles at the Cowboys.
You skip one. You skip one.
Oh, I did.
You skipped a very important game. You skipped.
I'd go Jaguars and Cardinals, and then what's after that? Oh, is it Falcons Saints?
Yeah, yeah. I would say
So
do that one first because the Eagles Cowboys is the primetime game.
okay, all right. Falcons at the Saints. This can be a follow along on ESPN. Just check the score. I don't know, another just bad game. Can't believe that I would ever see the Saints as favorites this season. More than that, I can't believe I would ever pick them as favorites because that's what I'm going to do. -1.5 is what I'm seeing for New Orleans here. I can't take Atlanta seriously, especially with Cousins at QB, which that's I believe been confirmed. He'll be the starter on Sunday. The Falcons are 1-5 straight up and 0-6 against the spread in Kirk's last 6 starts, dating back to last season. I like what I've seen in short bursts from Tyler Shook, and off a bye week, this could be the best New Orleans spot this year. Might be the only time I pick them. So, in a short spread, I think they can win this one at home.
I don't know why I'm taking the Falcons. I put as much effort into this pick as I will to watching this game.
Right.
So if you're listening, don't really take my advice on this, but this just seems like everything's going against the Falcons here. Like everything, Saints coming off of a bye week. Their rookie quarterback played well before the bye. Kirk Cousins is starting. Falcons have lost several in a row. Just everything's going against the Falcons, but that just something tells me that's just like the perfect recipe for the
This is
Falcons.
like my Cardinals pick. You're picking a rock
Yeah,
bottom.
it just feels like the perfect recipe for the Falcons to just pull off a win here and show their fans that what could have been. So I'll take the Falcons +1.5. Something I would never even look at on a if I was actually putting money on it. But hey, that's what we do. Okay, now I want to say this before slate this one with you the primetime game. Cowboys Eagles. Dallas is hosting. Eagles are 3.5 point road favorites. Last I checked. Is it still 3.5? Because when I
Yeah.
checked it today, it was kind of leaning towards it might go to 3.
Is that
But
where the juice was headed?
yeah, I Cowboys coming off a nice win. I see a letdown spot. Um, Eagles defense will do enough to neutralize. I'm not going to say stop, but neutralize the Cowboys offense. And then I feel like the Cowboys defense is the perfect antidote for this Eagles offense to maybe get back to what they were. It's been some couple ugly performances these last 2 games against the Lions and the Packers for the Philly offense, but I feel like this is a perfect antidote for that. And I like the Eagles to -3.5, and I'll love it even more if it goes down to -3.
Yeah, this should be an interesting week. We're gonna have a lot of differences here, but I mean, road division games haven't been the easiest for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Um, with him under center, they are 6-7 straight up, 4-8-1 against the spread, failing to cover the spread by 3.8 points per game. Um, I'm going to bang the drum again. I think we've said it before. I'll say it again. Dak Prescott has excelled in his career against NFC East opponents. He is now 31-13 against the spread versus the NFC East, covering the spread by 6.8 points per game. Yeah, I like the hook here where it's standing at the moment at 3.5 to take the Cowboys at home. The only thing that gives me pause, there's one factor. Eagles are wearing their Kelly Green jerseys this week. Since bringing them back in 2023, Philly is 5-0 straight up and 4-1 against the spread. So that's the part. They bring out the Kelly Greens. That might be an issue for the Cowboys here, but I'm going to go Cowboys at +3.5.
Just now thinking about it, I wish we would have done research before. I really am interested to see what the Lions and the Cowboys records against the spread are this week because both teams historically play 3 days later or 4 days later, whatever, on
I
Thanksgiving.
think the Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I haven't seen a number. I'm sure it's out there, but I am interested to see what their historical record against the spread is in week 12 because it'd be interesting because I feel like that would play a factor in betting their games this week.
Yeah, this week, next week, maybe even the week after, just what that Thanksgiving week affects them at this part of the season. Let's head to Sunday Night Football. It should be a fun one. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford He's in that NFL MVP discussion. He's a favorite entering week 12. 27 passing touchdowns and 2 interceptions through 10 games. Only other QB in history with 27 plus passing TDs and 2 INTs or fewer through 10 games was Patrick Mahomes in 2020. Baker Mayfield actually hasn't been great in night games, surprisingly. As much of a clutch performer as he is and rallier of that Bucks offense. Since 2021, Baker has made 13 starts at night in prime time. His teams are 2-11 straight up and 4-9 against the spread in those matchups. As an above a field goal underdog at night, Baker is 1-8 straight up, including 0-8 straight up during the regular season.
Yeah.
The Rams are coming off a divisional battle last week against Seattle. Most head coaches would see a letdown potentially the week after. Not the Rams. Under McVay, they are 34-17 straight up, 30-17-4 against the spread the week after facing an NFC West opponent. They're favored at 6.5. I will take that before it gets to 7. I like the Rams here.
I hear you. I hear you. I don't know. We just have disagreements this week, but
It's a tough
you
week.
have, I do like your reasoning. I really do on that one. And the night game does scare me, but this just seems like a game. The Rams defense played so well last week. I could see them letting up a little bit,
Right.
I'm not saying the Buccaneers are going to win this, but Baker's probably getting really tired of their performances these last against the Patriots and against the Bills, and they were looking for a statement like, "Hey, we've not gone away. Remember, we were arguably one of the best teams in the league just a few weeks ago." So I could see Tampa going in there and making it a very competitive game. So I'll take the Buccaneers at +6.5. Do I like this? No, but this is also me maybe slightly rooting for an entertaining Sunday night game.
There you go.
So. Okay, Monday Night Football. Panthers at the 49ers. I'm interested to see if we agree on this one. This is interesting because, as I mentioned last week, the trend continues. Since week 3, the 49ers have alternated wins and losses, and they beat the Cardinals last week, so that means they're due for a loss. I think that trend breaks. That trend does not last this week. Bryce Young coming off probably his best game of his career. 48 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's going to play terrible this week. He's not been good as a quarterback. Yeah, it's way too good of a game. He played a really good game last week, but it's not going to repeat 2 weeks in a row. On the road in prime time, I don't trust this Panthers team in prime time. Give me the 49ers at -7.
Yeah, it's a 7 point spread. It's a pretty big spread. The Niners have been able to play really well this season. The Panthers are 6-5 this year. If they win in San Francisco and Tampa Bay loses, they get into first place in the NFC South.
Yeah.
Crazy up to this point. Who would have thought that at this point we'd have Patriots first in the AFC East, Steelers first in the AFC North, Colts first in the AFC South, to a lesser extent the Broncos being first in the AFC West, Bears being first in the NFC North, and potentially having the Panthers leading the NFC South.
It's just, their losses have been so bad. Their losses have been so bad that it's kind of made you forget about it. They have actually had some pretty good wins this year as well.
Yeah. You mentioned the trend with the Niners. Win loss. They're bad at home. They seem to always have a letdown after a win. Crazy stat, but since Christmas of 2023, the Niners are 1-15 against the spread after an outright win, the worst mark of any team in the NFL. In that span, they are failing to cover the spread by 7.7 points per game off a win. Playing at home, the Niners have lost 12 consecutive games against the spread. After amazing performance by Bryce Young last week, I am banking on him just being good, not great. And I think with the 7-point spread, I think they can at least keep this one close. The Niners obviously still with a lot of injuries on defense. I think it could be a factor in this one. But yeah, I'm going to take the Panthers at +7. It's a dirty dog. That's a huge dirty. I always seem to have one of those each week. So
yeah, I'm very interested to see how we do this week record wise. My guess is that we'll both be close to 500 again. But there's a
with all
there's
with
there's
all
a
the
there's
differences
there
we have.
there's a legitimate chance though that one of us could do really good and the other could do really
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week. I don't think we've disagreed that much.
No.
But yeah, we'll be back with more picks against the spread next week. But let's transition to college football. So we had a few, couple impactful games that happened on Saturday. The first one was a crazy one. Texas A&M surviving potential upset from South Carolina with the longest comeback in school history. They were down 30-3 at halftime. Marcel Reed was playing terrible. Just, I mean, gifting the ball to them, throwing back-to-back interceptions. South Carolina was just electric. Lenora Sellers, there was a play to Nick Harbor, 80-yard touchdown pass. It was a great play. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, this is it for Texas A&M. If they lose this by 40 points, they might get kicked out of the playoff altogether. And then I turned the game off, and then you sent me a text saying I think South Carolina might get blown out. I'm like, don't you mean Texas A&M? And they'd come all the way back to win
Just
this
like
one,
that.
31 to
Just like
30.
that. I mean, yeah, I said that because they took the lead early in the fourth quarter. Like it was such a pathetic second half performance by South Carolina, in particular in the third quarter. It was just bad. Like you could just see after Texas A&M's first touchdown that this game might already be over. Just the moment looked too big for South Carolina.
Yeah, yeah. And then at the 2:30 game, Oklahoma kept their playoff hopes alive, put them in the driver's seat for a playoff spot with a win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Not an easy thing to do. It just proves when they have Mateer and he's healthy and he's got his legs under him, it can really do some pretty cool things with this defense. This Brent Venables defense is legit, and they came up big against a really potent offense for Alabama with Ty Simpson and Williams. So, yeah, what did you think of that game in Tuscaloosa?
Big win for Oklahoma, absolutely. Alabama should still be fine, assuming they take care of business throughout the rest of the season for a playoff spot. Unusual Kalen DeBoer ranked team loss.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's been really good in his tenure with Alabama so far against ranked teams. So that's why I thought Alabama would win this game pretty easily. So yeah, a huge win for Oklahoma, and then Georgia handled Texas with ease in the second half. In that game at Athens, so if you've been keeping track, that means that Georgia beat Texas, Texas beat Oklahoma, Oklahoma beat Alabama, and Alabama beat Georgia. So that comes full circle this week.
that's crazy. Yeah, tough game for Arch Manning and Texas. They dropped to 17th in the rankings this week after that loss, and I don't know. It'd be an uphill climb to get back into a playoff spot. They do have a meeting with Texas A&M to finish out the season. That's in Austin, DKR. So could be an interesting matchup that might get them back into the playoff fold. But with 3 losses, that's going to be tough to come by. We did, since this is Wednesday when we're recording, we actually do get to talk about the latest college football playoff rankings. Give some reactions over that. So not too much has changed, but Georgia has moved into the top 4. So they, at this point, would have a bye in the playoff. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, the last undefeateds right there up there, keeping their 1 through 3 spots. And then so a little reshuffling, Oklahoma up to 8th. Notre Dame up to 9th. Alabama goes to 10. Any quick reactions off of the latest rankings of the college football
I
playoff?
mean, it sets up for a big one in the Big Ten out west
Mm-hmm.
this week for USC and Oregon. USC is on the outside looking in at 15th. Oregon is at 7th, so it'll be tough because the game will be in Eugene. But if USC can somehow pull that off, they are looking good, and Oregon might be chattering their teeth come playoff Selection Day. So
Yeah,
big one in the Big Ten, and otherwise pretty weak slate. This is usually a pretty week, week
right
of
before the rivalry week.
yeah, right before rivalry week. Several teams usually on bye. The SEC is usually playing
Samford.
The Austin Peas and the Samfords and the Charlottes of the worlds. Which I don't know how I don't mind that they play them. I don't know
Well,
if they
that'll
should.
end come next season. They'll be
Yeah,
playing the 9 conference games.
if they should. Yeah, I mean because it provides benefits to those schools like
Yeah,
playing. I
that's
think,
true.
but I'm just like late in the season. Like, couldn't that game be in like September? I don't know.
Right.
Um, but yeah, not a huge slate. USC at Oregon, like I said, it's big. BYU and Cincinnati. That's a big one in the Big 12 because BYU can clinch a title game spot uh, if Arizona State and Houston lose and BYU ends up taking care of business against Cincinnati. But that's no guarantee.
Yeah, crazy things going on in the ACC too. So, just teams beating up on each other towards the top. I mean, we do have Miami at Virginia Tech. Big news for the Hokies. They do get for next season. James Franklin is coming to town to be their head coach. So, we'll see if that
Perfect
program
hire.
gets. Yeah, that
Great
was one
hire
of the
for them.
ones that I was like
Yeah.
thinking that a huge culture builder. Those games will be electric with Inner Sandman with those those intros out there. One question I do have is what Tulane would be the G6 team that is in right now. According to the bracket, when they lost to UTSA by like 20 points, but a lot of teams at the top, Memphis lost, South Florida lost. Navy's up there that they could potentially get a spot, but it's crazy things going on in the American.
There's no Boise State from last year this year. What I mean by that, a team that deserved it, and no one really argued that they should have been in it because you could argue the ACC doesn't deserve a team in it this year either. So yeah, it's
we get end up with Virginia being the ACC team. That's crazy.
yeah. There might be some butthurt SEC and Big Ten fans this year, if maybe in Big 12, if ACC and a group of 6 team gets a spot, or a group of 5, whatever you call it, gets a spot in the college football playoff, and a good team gets left out.
Yeah. Good game again. USC at Oregon. Watch that one. Definitely, that's a very impactful game, most impactful of the weekend outside of BYU. But after that game, you can probably just rest up for the Sunday slate in the NFL. But get geared up for next week, rivalry week. We're gonna have a nice breakdown of all the rivalry games going in, especially Ohio State, Michigan. That's obviously a big one for the Buckeyes as we try to break that streak, that loss streak against the Wolverines. Yeah, good stuff today, Logan, man. We'll be back next week with our picks against the spread for week. What is it going to be? 12, 13? 13, man. Crazy.
Thanksgiving week, like you said, rivalry week in college football. Also, we didn't talk about it, but we're getting into college basketball in-season tournaments now.
Yes.
Those are some of the best non-conference games of the year. It's always around Thanksgiving week.
Kentucky got blown out in the Champions Classic.
Yeah, they're already, the pitchforks are already out in Lexington to can Pope, which might be a little premature, but that is
he's got his first crisis. That's
a pretty expensive roster though, and losses to Louisville and Michigan State.
Pretty substantial losses at that.
Yeah.
But good show today. We'll be back next week, so we'll see y'all.